Hey, everybody, it's Trash Talk again, another episode. We're into our second year of Trash Talk.
Oh,
This is just amazing. I hope you were able to catch our show earlier this month when we talked about on our anniversary show, talking about all the neat shows that we've had. And now we're off onto another season two, you know, just of us right here on Trash
crazy
Talk.
because we started talking about some of those old shows and talking about our first Christmas show, our first Halloween show, and I'm like, we're about to do Halloween next month. Like
I know it's amazing. It's just like creeping up on us.
I know.
The time, but they say time flies when you're having fun.
They say that.
In
Yes.
fact, that's going to be a subject of one of our future shows. It's
Okay.
going to be common phrases and everything. I'm starting to work on that, coming up with phrases that we use all the time, and maybe we know why, and maybe we don't.
I have a lot of phrases right now.
Yeah, there's the one of my favorite ones, and it's continues to baffle me is when somebody says something's out of whack. What's a whack?
What's in whack?
Yeah, I mean, if it's out of whack, how do we know? Because what is a whack?
I don't.
So,
That's a
but
good
that's
question.
that's a preview of a
That's a
coming
preview. Yeah, we can't get off topic.
coming show, right?
We'll go down the rabbit hole and never come back.
That's right. One thing we do know is that we are brought to you by Patriot Sandwich Company over in Denton. Our good friend over there, David Jordan, and his staff make up some of them. And I got to tell you, you look at that picture; those are the small sandwiches.
Yeah.
Though that's a picture of some of his small sandwiches. He makes some incredible sandwiches. You put as much meat on it and veggies and all that stuff. Then you got to try the sauces. There are some incredible sauces that you can have 1, 2, 3, or more, all on the same sandwich. Or he'll cut it in half and say, "Hey, put some of the sriracha on this side and put the honey mustard on the other side." But when you go there, all you got to do is mention that you heard about Patriot Sandwich Company on Trash Talk. You're going to get a free large drink to go with your sandwich. And, and while you're there, get one to eat right there because the place is military themed. It's like being in a little museum while you're having your lunch, and then take another sandwich or two home for the family. Good idea?
Great idea. They've added a bunch of stuff too. I can't even go down the list. There's a lot of things there.
Yeah, they've done some great stuff over the years. We are also brought to you in part by my good friend Christine Dean, who is the DFW networking diva. She knows everything there is to know about marketing and websites and how to improve your bottom line. And she gives a free consultation. Just go to her website, click on there, set up a time for a free consultation and say, "Hey, I want you to take a look at my website. Do you think you can improve it?" And I'll bet you can. So you get in touch with Christine Dean, DFW Diva at .com.
There you go. You'll get there. Yeah, drink
There you go.
another sip of coffee.
The question marks are throwing me for a loop.
I'm thrown all day today.
But I'll bring this up because it's kind of the subject of today's show. We're talking about nicknames, but Christine, because she has been working with so many small, medium, and large companies in developing their businesses, somebody along the line said to her, "You are a real diva. You are a real networking diva." She made a business out of that. The networking diva. And it fits. And sometimes it's those nicknames that get people to know who they are. I know one of your personal favorites, Brandon, is what's his first name? Johnson.
Oh yeah, The Rock.
The Rock. We all know him as The Rock, and so it's hard to remember what's his real name.
It's funny too because when he started wrestling, he came out as Rocky Maivia because his dad's name, that was his dad, and he came out as Rocky Maivia. Nobody liked him. I couldn't stand him when he first debuted. I couldn't stand him at all. I was like, I don't know about this guy. He's big, he's talented, but I don't like him. Then he dropped it and he came down to The Rock. and it changed the game for him, because they used to call him that when he played football too. And
Yeah.
then now it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson, because obviously he's doing the Hollywood thing, but he can't help it. I mean, like, he's The Rock. He's always going to be The Rock. And it just stuck with him. And it's not a bad thing.
No, it isn't. In fact, that becomes kind of your moniker, and people remember you as that.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about wrestling. I mean, you can go down a whole list of wrestlers that don't go by, you know, Roddy Piper,
Oh, yeah.
Roddy Piper. You know,
Yeah. Or he had two, or he had the Hot Rod. Everybody called him the Hot Rod, you know?
yep, you know, I remember Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was as big as a haystack, so that's where he probably got that one. I mean, you know, living here in Texas, probably every other person that you bump into is named Bubba.
That's true. That's true.
So,
Or at least in Alabama anyway. So
yeah. Well, and in Alabama, everybody has two names.
that's,
You know,
they do.
you know, Billy Ray,
Billy Ray.
Bobby
Billy-
Sue,
Billy Bob, Bobby Ray.
Billy Bob. And that in itself is like a nickname.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny too, because you think about sports figures too, you know, and you think about some of the famous athletes out there and the nicknames that that they have stuck with them. Like, you know, their names, but like, so we just talked about this last week. I talked about Detroit Tigers and Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera is great, phenomenal, over 500, amazing guy, but everybody just calls him Miggy. He's Miggy.
Yep.
So you know it, you know, and then, you know, and there's other ones too that have gotten more creative, but that's a huge one.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to have trouble with some of these names trying to remember the names, but one of the best catchers in baseball was nicknamed the Pudge.
Yeah, Pudge Rodriguez. Yeah,
Yep.
from,
Yep.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think, you know, you always have those. Wayne Gretzky, you know, was he called the Flash?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, every sport had its people with names and nicknames, and it was usually a nickname that stuck. You know, Babe Ruth, the big Bambino,
well, hey, look at
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali.
and he was
Muhammad Ali.
he was also called the Sultan of SWAT.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know it. The thing is, you know it. If you hear that, you know who they're talking about. Like, even if you can't remember real names,
right.
you know who they're talking about. It's just become them. It's their persona, you know?
Well, you know, I mean, Hollywood, I'm not so sure that there's that many actors and actresses and all that go by their birth names. They
That's
all
true.
either have a stage name or a moniker or a nickname or something in order for people to remember who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
know,
even
you-
like look at Robert De Niro. So you know that name, but everybody in Hollywood calls him Bobby D. It's Bobby
Yeah.
D. You know?
Yeah. Musicians. Good Lord. I mean, you know, Slash. I don't even know if I've ever heard his real name.
I did back in the day because I'm obsessed, but I can't remember it right now. I can't remember it. I just
Yeah.
saw them like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's Slash, you know, I mean, well, then even in that band alone, you know, Izzy, there's a guy named Izzy, you know, Duff McKagan, you know, Duff is just his nickname. His real name isn't Duff. It's part of it, but you know, you look at other you know, Janis Joplin had nicknames, you know, now I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to remember a lot of the 60s.
Well, I wasn't there yet, you know.
Yeah. No, I was, and there are parts of the 60s I do remember, but a lot
Well,
of other parts
at
I
least you
don't.
can say that you were there, you know, like
Right.
I have to look at like documentaries and history.
Yeah, but if you go through a lot of those old bands, you know, nicknames were just part of the scene.
Well, and nicknames have been a thing, and sometimes it's a really good thing, and sometimes it's a really bad thing. Like, you know, when you look at certain presidents, like Bill Clinton, you know.
Well, Richard Nixon, you know,
Right.
became known as Tricky Dicky or Tricky
Not a
Dick.
good nickname. Not a good nickname.
Not a good nickname at all. And I mean, President Trump put a lot of nicknames on people, you know, Rocket Man for Kim Jong-un.
Well, we can thank him for calling it the China virus. So
Right. Yeah. So there were all kinds of nicknames, and like you said, some of them fit. Well, most of them fit, but
They
some of
fit
them
to
were
it. Yeah,
kind and some
there's
were not
something,
so
yeah.
kind.
Well, what about like growing up though? I mean, like it always reminds me of movies like The Sandlot or the old TV show, The Little
You're killing
Rascals.
me, Smalls.
Yeah, like or one of my favorite classic movies of all time, Goonies. And they all had nicknames. When you think about your friends growing up, did you ever have any friends that you never called them by their name? You just called them by their nickname?
Yeah. Oh, one of my favorites was the movie Animal House.
Yeah.
You had Flounder. You had now they're all getting past me, but
See, nobody, I mean, I'm sure people have a lot of names for me, but probably none that I can repeat. But everybody I was simple. Like everybody just called me B. I had my friends that would call me Brandon. And then I had my other friends that were just like, hey, what's up, B? My sister even called me B for the longest time. I don't know if she does now. I can't remember.
Really?
But yeah, they were just like B. Oh, it's B. B's coming. B's coming. I had girlfriends I dated that I'd be like, well, I'm going out with B tonight. And I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, yeah, that's me. Okay. I didn't know if I was A and you had a backup, But yeah, and then I'd have another group of friends I did, and or they call me by my last name, but I had friends that we would call. I've got friends, two friends now, that one is Milk and one is Cookies.
So when
Milk
you go
and
out
Cookies.
Milk and Cookie.
Yeah, his name's Josh and my buddy Ryan, and we call them Milk and Cookies because they're always together, like Milk and Cookies, and and it's just that's what they are, and they're Milk and Cookies, and that's how I call them.
That one brought to mind the lineman for the championship Bears, William Refrigerator Perry.
Perry, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, whoa. You said championship Bears, and it's been
Yeah, well, it's only one team I can remember, but the Refrigerator. And a lot of people didn't know that his first name was I mean, we had named Perry on the back of his jersey.
Oh, yeah.
But his first name was William, but everybody knew him as either the Refrigerator or just the Fridge.
Right. Well, they used to call Calvin Johnson Megatron,
Yeah.
And I remember that from the Lions. It was Megatron. I was like,
Hey.
oh, Megatron,
Yeah. Walter Payton, Sweetness. Yeah. Sweetness was his nickname.
And then you have them. You had them. You had them all. And I'm trying to think of some other friends that I have that had some unique nicknames. Sometimes we just created stuff. I had a group of friends, and I talked about this on one of my podcasts, where we were such wrestling fans. We had our own little wrestling clique, and we all would call each other by our wrestling names. We did that for a while in high school, which was kind of just fun and stupid and cheesy. But everybody looked at us because we were that pack together. So we were the Wolf Pack or the NWO, and that's what we were, and everybody knew it. It was kind of fun back then,
I think one of the common nicknames I remember was Slim, because there was always some guy that was like 6'2" and weighed about 170 pounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes he was a basketball player, but they called him Slim.
We had Skinny Brian and Fat Brian.
Yeah. And then there was always somebody on the track team that you called Flash.
Right. I remember those two Brian guys back in the day. And when I look at that nickname now, I'm like, man, he did not mind that we called him Fat Brian. Oh, it's Fat Brian. Oh, it's Skinny Brian.
Right. Well, they had to be able to designate between the two of them.
Well, and then one of my buddies would actually, just the two of them, he'd be like, hey, is 10 coming? And I was like, oh, 10? And yeah, and he's like, yeah, Fat Brian and Skinny Brian. I'm like, oh man, because it was a number 1 and the number 0.
Right. You said your nickname basically was just B?
Just B, just simple.
I had an interesting one, and this is true. My very, very best friend when I was growing up had a little sister, and she could not pronounce my name, Stuart. Really? It just didn't come out Stuart.
Like the S's and all that. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. It came out Dirt.
Dirt.
So in my neighborhood, I grew up with the nickname Dirt because
that's an awesome nickname. have dirt?
Yeah, I felt like one of the Peanuts characters, Pigpen.
Right. Well, yeah, big fan
Yeah,
there.
and the Little Rascals. There were a bunch of them. You know, the Little Rascals, Spanky and
Spanky.
Alfalfa, and who was the guy that had the cowlick?
Wasn't that alfalfa?
No, Alfalfa had the dreadlocks.
Oh, you're right, right. Who had the little, I don't know.
Yeah,
what
he
that
had
guy
the
was.
cowlick
Yeah, right,
on the
right.
back, but
We used to call my cousin, right, a little cousin, we called him Spanky.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of them became names like doggy names. There
That's
was
true.
always
That's true.
would come from some of those. You know, Rover. You know,
Yeah.
Bow Wow.
Bow Wow. Well, that's now you're just a rapper name. Now you're
Right.
just a
I was
rapper
just going to
name.
say,
Little
look,
Bow
yeah,
Wow.
look at music. I don't think there's one hip hop artist or rap artist that has anything that resembles their God-given name.
Not, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Little Wayne, Little Bow Wow.
Yeah, I
Little
wanna know where-
Dre, Little
I want to know where the 50 Cent came up.
50 Cent. I read his book. He told me about. I mean, he didn't tell me, but I read his book. It's in there, and I forgot.
Yeah.
Forgot. It's a cool story, though. Actually, it's actually kind of a cool story.
Vanilla Ice.
Well, that's
Ice
just
Ice
very-
Baby.
That's just that's because his name is Mark Van Winkle.
Mark Van Winkle.
You
That's his
can't
real-
be called Van Winkle and be a rapper. So
No. So
you might as
Vanilla
well
Ice-
just be called Vanilla Latte. You know.
Well, and because he was white, that was where the vanilla part came in.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be. Yeah, it's Martin. Yeah, Van Winkle. So here.
Well, hey, there was also how about Arthur Fonzarelli?
That's
The
true.
Fonz.
The Fonz. Such a crazy thing because that character is nothing like that guy in real life. You know,
Yeah.
nothing. The complete opposite. And I actually like Henry Winkler in movies. He cracks me up, but it's funny to see the real people. You know, but yeah, I used to. There were some other people that had like real short nicknames. You know, variations of their name. You cut their name in half. You know, I did that with a lot of people. I did that
Yeah.
with my wife. I called her B a lot. I gotta stop. I'm sorry. Done. Sorry. No more jokes. I'm just trying to be
That's
fun.
it. That's it. That'll probably be a wrap for the show.
I'm out of here.
So just tune in again next Tuesday and all at 8 o'clock in the morning. Get yourself a cup of coffee, and B and Dirt will be here to spend spend a little time with you. So go, make it a good one.
See you later.